Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Juricich, and welcome to Hooked on the Niners.
And I'm Mark Naismith, and we'll review the tie, are you kidding me, against the St. Louis Rams yesterday.
And I'm Terrell Jones, sitting in for Jerry Walker. We're going to preview the Niners versus the Bears Monday night.
And as our guest this week, we bring in a former 49er and a local broadcaster who's doing his show prep right now.
What's that word?
Catch. Yeah, you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, okay.
Mike Shumann, former 49er, joins us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll have all that and not a darn thing more right here on the, whatever it is, Hooked on the Niners.
Hooked on the Niners is brought to you by
Bay 101 Casino, located at 1801 Bering Drive in San Jose. They can be reached at 408-451-8888 or on the web at bay101.com. Since 1994, Bay 101 Casino.
Badges Cafe. Badges Cafe is located in the heart of Mountain View at 2423 Old Middlefield Way. You can reach Badges Cafe at 650-967-7477 or on the web at www.badges.com. Go Niners! College Plaza Shell. College Plaza Shell, located at 1400 West Hillsdale Boulevard in San Mateo, providing automotive service since 1987. You can reach College Plaza Shell at 650-573-7959. That's 650-573-7959.
Psst. Hey, need some video work done?
We can do that.
We do all that video stuff. We can even put your video on that internet thingy. At Peninsula TV, we do full-blown in-studio production, talk shows, performances, speeches, anything. Remote multi-camera production, on location, at your event. And for the budget-minded, single camcorder production in high definition. We'll take your video project from first idea to finished product. For more info, contact Peninsula TV.
Welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. Before we invite our guest in and say hello to him, this is an open letter to Colin Kaepernick. No. Yes. No. Yes. Get a little fold in that hat, and you'll be welcome.
Okay.
You never had that problem, did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah. Did you ever wear a helmet?
It's right there. You guys brought my former helmet, you know.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Mike,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's fun having you back. We'll start with you. A tie. You ever playing a tie?
I have not. We were just talking about it before we came on the air that I was trying to think. I couldn't remember that I ever played with all the concussions, but it's got to be an odd feeling, and you could tell with the players and coaches afterwards. Jim Harbaugh said, I don't know how to feel.
Right.
It's like you didn't play a game.
Yeah,
you're out there fighting like they did. Both had chances, and it's just an unusual situation. It's been since 2008 in the NFL and 1986 with the 49ers. So, yeah, it's just kind of an odd situation. That whole thing, it's like kissing your sister, which I never minded. But
it's a whole different
It's got to be a strange feeling afterwards.
Well, you know, and it kind of permeates through the TV set, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
How'd you feel when it was over? It's like,
Well,
what was the point of this?
I'm sure both teams are talking to each other, right? They both should have won. I mean, David Akers had what for him has been a chip shot, and he just shanked it. And then the two plays that the Rams have, the 80-yard pass gets called back, and then Legatron makes 53, and that's gone. So they both probably went home muttering to themselves. Didn't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they did, as I was, all night. But, I mean, the Rams kind of have to feel good, I think, a little bit more than the Niners, because they kind of sent a little message to the Niners, I think.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it was right there for them to take, you know?
Yeah.
And so you feel kind of good, but you're like, okay, we let this slip away. Now what's going to happen the rest of the season? So, you know.
Right.
But the question that nobody's really talking about is what happened to that minute 12 that they let run off?
What a bizarre game.
Right. It was.
What a bizarre game. You lose a minute 12.
Right.
The 49ers tying now, there's all the tiebreakers are out the window. I mean, unless somebody else in our division ties. The fake punts, and for me, Navarro Bowman reaching down to get his mouthpieces. The guy he's supposed to be guarding is running right past. Right. I mean, it was just. You ever see stuff like this in a game?
Well, I think you've seen stuff like that, but and it was funny because afterwards, some of the players on the team didn't realize that they didn't play it out until somebody won.
Yeah. How do you not know the rules?
Well, you know what? That's
of course, I played golf with you. I can
understand
that's true.
That. But it's just one of those things you really don't think about until it happens. You know, because soccer, I think, is the only sport I can think of that they, ties are kind of allowed. Whereas, football, especially when you're fighting and kicking and scratching for 60, 75 minutes, somebody has to win.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's the way I feel.
I don't know what the answer is. Maybe go to the college system? I don't know.
Well,
something like that.
Right.
But let's get back to the game. Simple enough to say that it all ended in the first quarter.
Right.
Our guy falls down, they get a long touchdown, and then they kind of ran the ball on us with Steven Jackson.
101 and a touchdown, so everybody who said that he's washed up, no, he's not.
Yeah.
And he was running over people, too. He was punishing them.
Well, somebody told me one time the highest compliment you can pay to a player is to say to him, you can play for me anytime. And if Steven's watching this, come on down.
Yeah.
That guy is good. How about the run where he loses his helmet? So on and so forth. Of course, this is called Hooked on the Niners, not Hooked on the Rams. Well, but they came back.
Absolutely.
I know when I say that, I mean the Niners.
With the guy with the flat hat.
No. Yes. Okay. Your starting quarterback goes down. The substitute, the second stringer comes in. Tell me what goes through your mind. Oh, I know what you're probably wishing. I hope I get in too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, I think in a quarterback situation, especially a young quarterback, it's almost better to come off the bench and you don't have to think.
Right.
You just react. Whereas if he has to start this week because of Alex's concussion against the Bears, he's got all week to think about it. He's going to get all the reps in practice, so the pressure kind of builds all week. So I think it was an ideal situation, but with Colin, I just see kind of what he did in college. He checks his first read, and then he just takes off running for the sideline. And we talked about it. This kid's 6'5", probably 235. Somebody is going to cut him in half. He runs straight up and down.
Yes, he does.
And he plays the whole game. You're going to get used to his speed, used to his stride. A lot of guys haven't seen him before, so he kind of sneaks up on you. But, I mean, they drove him down. He scored twice with him, so he kept him in the game. But he's young and inexperienced, and you can tell.
But he did, Mark, throw more passes yesterday than he had in his whole career.
17,
17
Very
passes.
Instinctive athlete, and he just is completely unafraid. I mean, every time he gets the ball, you're kind of gasping because any number of things can happen, good or bad, but he is just an astounding athlete. And, sometimes he gets tackled, sometimes he kind of brushes guys away and runs away, and he's a very interesting player, there's no doubt about that.
But he threw for 10,000 yards at Nevada and ran for 4,000 yards, which kind of begs the question. And no offense to our friends in the next state, how'd you end up at Nevada? I mean, why wasn't this guy at Alabama or
He's from a very, very small town in Central California, and I think he just was one of those guys who got missed.
Yeah, but they find you. You're in that business of finding people.
Yeah, but I mean, people pass on Aaron Rodgers too.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So,
Plus, he's a guy. He could play tight end. As an athlete,
wide receiver.
You're not sure what to do with him. So, and another thing with him, I noticed he's got the strongest arm. But he has no real touch on the shorter passes.
He threw one to Frank Gore that was about 5 feet.
Exactly. So, especially when he's running out or scrambling, you just want to drop it off, let those guys make a play. But so that'll all come with repetitions in a game. And so we'll see. It's going to be interesting this week. See what happens.
And I think they kind of had the handcuffs on him because Tolzien wasn't active for the game. So if something happened to this guy, so there were no, I don't think, one planned run that I saw. The rest were kind of take off. But if he got hurt, it was going to be Kyle Williams at quarterback.
Wow.
Which kind of reminded me of 1978 when we had Freddie Solomon at quarterback for a game. And his go-to guy, that was the depths of despair.
That was my first
Montana to Rice.
It was Detroit, in Detroit.
Yeah, right.
Let's see.
Last game of the season.
DeBerg, Scott Bull went down. Bruce Threadgill was a safety, but played quarterback. They cut a cast off of his wrist, put him in. And then finally, I think it was Fred O'Connor was the head coach. Comes over to the sideline and goes, "Who wants to play quarterback?" And we're looking around. This is the NFL. And Freddie's like, "I'll play."
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Well, Alex was having a tidy little game before Jolon Dunbar had a little collision with him. 7 for 8, and threw some nice balls to Crabtree, who was just having a marvelous first half. And then kind of.
But Mark. That wasn't the play where they're saying that Smith got hurt. They're saying he got hurt on the quarterback sneak, which begs the question, Why? You've got Brandon Jacobs that we paid some money and we brought him to this team. Why wasn't he getting that first down? And why aren't they throwing more to Moss? And why doesn't A.J. Jenkins, LaMichael Jenkins, stop me, because here we go again. I say this every week on the show. Why aren't they using Moss more?
Well, the two rookies I'll address first, you know, they just have to earn their time. So I can understand that. I mean, LaMichael Thomas and Kendall Hunter's playing well, so you got a good one, too.
Other teams draft guys in the first round that come in and help right away. Look at Brockers.
Right. But then you got Randy Moss and Brandon Jacobs, two veteran players who are sitting around waiting, you know. I mean, Jacobs has only been activated one game. And Moss, we talked about, I just don't understand why they're not using the guy. He's producing in practice. He's mentoring the young receivers. He's a deep threat, but Harbaugh doesn't like that low percentage pass, which the deep pass is. Yeah. But Randy can run every route, so I just don't understand why they don't use him, at least as a decoy or a threat, you know, so.
And plus, you see Randy, he's blocking downfield now. He didn't do that, you know, in his younger days.
Look at Vernon Davis. He's not even involved in that passing game now.
He's helping other people. He caught, what, 2 balls yesterday?
Yeah, so you have so many. So he's had more talent than he's ever had there as a coach, and it's tough to make sure everybody's getting the football.
And the quarterback has enough weapons out there. There's no question about that. It's just we just got to start using it. I got to wrap it up. We'll come right back.
And your thoughts about the Rams? They certainly showed up yesterday.
They did show up yesterday.
Jeff
and I think
Fisher outcoached Jim Harbaugh.
And I think they showed the rest of the NFL you can run on the 49ers. We're going to talk in depth about Mike Shumann when we come back for the second segment. So maybe you won't come back. I don't know. But it could be fun right here on Hooked on the Niners.
Brought to you in part by Barati & Karad, CPAs, providing income tax and accounting services to individuals and the business community since 1986. Located at 1100 Larkspur Landing Circle in Larkspur. They can be reached at 415-461-8500 or on the web at www.pccpas.com. Let's go Niners. Woodmont Real Estate Services, a friend to the community since 1963. Woodmont Real Estate Services is located at 1050 Ralston Avenue in Belmont, California, and can be reached at 650-592-3960 or at www.wres.com. Vivace Ristorante. Vivace Ristorante is located in the heart of Belmont at 1910 Ralston Avenue. They can be reached at 650-637-0611. That's 650-637-0611 or on the web at www.vivacerestaurant.com. Gando Design. For 25 years, Gando Design is located in Redwood City. Their website is gandodesign.com/specials. Gando Design, a proud sponsor of Hooked on the Niners. Peninsula TV is now live streamed on the internet. Watch us from anywhere you have an internet connection, on cable, on the net, and on that fancy mobile device. Just go to pentv.tv.
All right, welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. Before we start talking about Mike and finding out what he's up to, who cares?
Yeah.
You mentioned...
It's a wasted segment.
You want to read the stock pages? Right. You mentioned just before we went to break the 2 punts, you know, being outcoached.
Right.
And then, you know, the proof of that is the 2 punts. I mean, a fake punt from your end zone. Yeah. A ball thrown by a guy that's not a quarterback.
Right, and a 21-yard pass, you know, and then to do it again, and it was actually well designed, the second one.
Absolutely.
The fake reverse, you know, which sucked in the corner, and then they could throw it over. So, you know, and that second one put him back in the lead. So, but, you know, that's something where Brad Seeley's a good special teams coach, knew this kid was a backup quarterback, or scout team quarterback at Oregon State, I think it was. So. But to let it happen to you twice in one game, that's just, that can't happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then think about the nerves of this kid throws it, because remember he shanked that punt for 13 yards.
Right.
Okay, so you know he's kind of nervous about that.
He
came back and just threw a bullet. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Maybe Jeff Fisher thought his arm's better than his leg. Let's try this.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about you a little bit. Born and raised in Florida?
No, actually, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, really?
Yes,
okay.
And my dad worked for
not Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah,
Louisville. And my dad worked for 3M, so back then when you got promoted, you got transferred. So we lived all over the East Coast. I went to high school in New Orleans, college in Florida, and then I came out here in 1978 with the 49ers, and I've been out here since.
And you stayed. Obviously, you like this better after living all
well,
over
back
the place.
when I played, I think the average salary was about $60 grand a year. So it was more of a stepping stone to your next career.
Right.
So you'd set yourself up. That's where you and I met doing a 49er magazine show about 30 years ago. Can't believe we've known each other that long.
Right.
So I was always doing magazine shows, radio shows while I was playing because I got a degree in communications. Always told my dad I can do two things: catch a football and talk trash. And I've made a living at both. So it's worked out for me. And got a job in radio here at KNBR and KFOG when I cut out.
Yeah.
Was there for about 8 years and then been at ABC now almost 20 years. So.
Let the minutes of this meeting show he made more money talking trash than he did catching
That's
footballs.
True. That's true. That's true.
Absolutely.
I mean, my rookie year, my salary was $22,500, $22,000, which was the minimum. My signing bonus was $2,500. I bought a sailboat, was with the Miami Dolphins, and lived on my boat. So
very good move.
That was my life, back then. So.
And then helped raise your siblings.
Well, I was one of 7 kids. I was the oldest boy. My sister was a year older. We were talking about it last night with children, hand-me-down clothes. I said I had hand-me-down clothes for 15 years from my sister.
Well, that's why you moved out here.
There you go. Yeah, so anyway, and I have
Suddenly
one daughter.
Everything's crystal
Exactly.
clear.
I have one 17-year-old daughter myself, and I see now why you have kids when you're young and dumb and full of energy.
Well,
at my age, to have a teenager, it's something else.
Speaking of young and dumb, tell us about your early years with the Niners.
Well, I came out in '79. They brought Joe Thomas. Had pretty much destroyed the team.
Yeah.
Dolphins had cut me, and Shula, he calls me in, and I said to him, I said, well, get me on another team. And he goes, well, we're going to put you through 24-hour procedural waivers. And then I said, no, you're Don Shula. You can get me on another team.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, Joe Thomas called, who used to be with the Dolphins, brought out 2 guys. Well, I brought out 5, kept 2. I was the only guy that didn't drop a punt in practice. They asked me if I'd ever return punts. I said, well, yeah, 4 years in college, never did it a day. Ended up returning punts the rest of the year, played a little wide receiver. Bill Walsh came the following year, and I became his first starter in that offense.
I remember you told me a story about Al Vermeil, who was the special teams coach at the time.
And the strength coach,
And the strength coach, and he wanted you to go up the day before a game to practice catching punts at Candlestick.
Oh,
and
yes.
Said,
no problem.
The first one came down, and you called fair catch, and it just whoosh.
No, I got it right there, and it hit 5 yards over there. And then I just got laid out by, I can't remember the cornerback's name, Leonard Thomas maybe, who they had cut for me to return punt. So he got his shot back on me. Yeah,
nice.
Nice. So that was my first experience at Candlestick Park.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about '81. The game, the catch,
right.
And then going through the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl. Right. I mean, that had to be.
Well, I always joke, you and I joke, Dwight made the catch, the last catch of the game for the 49ers, and I always ask who made the first catch in that game.
Yeah.
Nobody
You're
remembers.
looking at him.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Exactly.
If I drop that ball, Joe's confidence goes in the tank. Do I get any credit at all? No. But then again, we had 6 turnovers in that game, so that shoots that theory. Right.
And let the minutes of the meeting show that the reason he was in the game to make that catch is Freddie Solomon returned a punt, ran across the field about 3 times, and he couldn't breathe, so they went, all right, shoot.
Get in.
So you're kind of like the bullpen catcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
Maybe to switch gears a little bit, I was interested in talking to both of you being NFL people. What is the deal with Aldon Smith? I mean, here's a guy young with a lot of money, and apparently he's not making a lot of good decisions. What does the team do? How do they handle that stuff?
Well, I think a lot of young guys come in, they get all this money, especially now, because, when we came in, if you got a lot of money, you got like a $100,000 signing bonus, so.
Not another zero.
So he's put himself in some bad situations. A lot of times it's people you're hanging out with. And, they have Dr. Harry Edwards down there who helps a lot of these young guys make the transitions. And I think he'll be fine, but they got to kind of get a grip on it because, it just keeps happening every time. And so, I don't know, you deal with the players a lot when you were there, so.
Right, and you know what, and I agree with you, but the difference between the players that are there now and then when I was there and when you were there is that some of them feel like they're entitled and that they know it all and they don't want to listen,
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of people in that building. You got Guy McIntyre, you got Keena Turner, people, who've been around for a long time who can help them and guide them.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they just don't want to listen.
Well, they don't respect the history of the game.
And they
the fact that I went on strike twice, so these guys can make the money they're making now, which cost me about $500,000, which now is about $5 million.
You're right,
compared to the day. So I think that's part of it. When I came up, I knew every receiver who played the game.
Right.
First of all, because I just was a fan, and second of all, because just see where I could get opportunity.
Right.
So,
yeah, sure.
So I think that's part of it too. They just don't appreciate it. And they don't need us anymore. They don't need the media.
Right.
They're making so much money now that it's just like it's kind of a pain to them to have to deal with that.
Tony Rosano, the former scout of the 49ers, God rest his soul, the man who was credited with finding Joe Montana, along with Bill. Obviously, you could argue that. Told me one time, absolutely the best pair of hands in the history of the National Football League.
I said, still attached to his
arm. He still got it. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, but the only problem was we couldn't get that pair of hands from point A to point B fast enough for them to do it.
Or even off the bench yet to use them.
But what a compliment.
No, you said he found Joe Montana. He's another guy. He and Neil Schmidt, who was in the South when I was playing, was the guy who found me.
Yeah.
And, I had a great senior year, a great bowl game in the Tangerine Bowl, and so, I was lucky, and Bill Walsh's offense was perfect for a guy like me.
Sure.
And ended up being a starter, and I always say DeBerg to Shumann sounded too much like a Jewish law firm. So I went with Montana to Clark. So,
might have played well in Florida.
Nothing to do with my talent. It was just the sound.
Right, otherwise you'd have been a star.
Exactly.
You are a star in my eyes. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about not only the upcoming game that the Niners have on Monday night against the Bears, but let's take a look in total of their schedule, and I know you've been studying it here in the break, so we'll let Mike get back to it when we come back right here on Hooked on the Niners.
That's good.
Hooked on the Niners is brought to you in part by Old County Custom Framing, located at 1339 Old County Road in Belmont. You can reach Old County Custom Framing at 650-596-2767. That's 650-596-2767. Go Niners! California Catering Company of San Mateo, proudly serving our community at 233 West 20th Avenue in San Mateo. California Catering can be reached at 650-345-4811, extension 1. The San Mateo Credit Union, serving San Mateo County for over 60 years. They can be reached at 650-363-1725. That's 650-363-1725. Or on the web at www.smcu.org. San Mateo Credit Union.
Hey guys, Will Durst here for my good friends, acquaintances at Penn TV, the place for what's happening in San Mateo County, and lots more too. Visit Penn TV on your local cable TV provider, or live on the web at www.penntv.tv. Hey, they do good stuff.
All right, welcome back. We're going to talk schedule. Niners, big one coming up Monday night. Chicago Bears.
#1 defense.
This could be called the Brain Slosh Bowl, or whatever you want to call it. A couple of quarterbacks with concussion. You had a concussion.
It ended my career, actually. I had 8.
8?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that a record?
So, no, it's not a record,
right.
because when I played, you just got your bell rung.
Yeah,
it wasn't called a mild concussion. So, I mean, they're doing a great job of taking care of this, but we were talking about it. Quarterbacks are so protected now in the pocket. When they do get outside the pocket, I mean, defensive players are trying to knock them out.
They're drooling.
So Cutler has one, Alex has one. Monday night, we'll give them an extra day. They might be able to get back in there, but otherwise, we're going to see a battle of backup quarterbacks with 2 of the top teams in the league.
This has nothing to do with the price of beans, but I remember getting to know this guy, and then he was playing in the USFL, and I remember he caught a pass over the middle in Houston and just got slammed. And he was on the middle of right at the 50-yard line, writhing around, and it just kind of, I know that guy. In the past, I'd never had that experience, and I knew the guy. and it kind of opens stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you said you were there saying I'd be a lousy boxer.
Yeah, well, I was out on my feet, and they were trying to get me over to the sideline so I didn't have to waste a timeout. You know? Come on, over here.
We found Shu's true wealth.
Yeah,
She's
right.
worth the timeout, or not even worth the timeout.
Well, do you remember that Snickers commercial where the quarterback gets hit and they said, "Okay, where are you?" He goes, "I'm here, I'm here." And they said, "What's your name?" He goes, "I'm Batman."
Yeah, right.
That actually happened my second year in the league, and I won't tell you the quarterback who said that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we could tell these stories all day. Yeah. Okay, the schedule, the Monday night game. We talked about the quarterbacks and so on and so forth. But 4 of the next 6 are on the road, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is no good.
No.
Yeah.
Against,
thank you.
Against
no.
Very insightful. Very insightful. You don't, as you say, you don't get that much anywhere else. Yeah, they have some tough road games, and that always is including going to New England and Seattle up there is going to and
tough. At New Orleans also.
And New Orleans obviously
is
playing very good football right now.
Schedule now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And back to St. Louis in 3 weeks. You know. So.
Yeah. Now here's where you do get this kind of insight is on ABC 7 Sports.
Right.
You know, he's right up on top of everything.
Always on top.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, it is going to be tough. What do you think Monday night?
I think it's going to be, well, number one, you get the number 1 defense coming in.
Yeah,
okay?
We got about 45 seconds.
They got a loss, so they're mad. They're really mad. And if you've got a backup quarterback in there, and like Mike said, who runs straight up, they're going to try to cut him down.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be tough, but I see the Niners winning 24-13.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a real battle in the trenches, you know, and a healthy Brian Urlacher really helps the Bears this year as he's played magnificently. So
I like
it'll be a slugfest.
Yeah, it will be.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, you know, and it'll be interesting if Colin Kaepernick starts. I think I'd like to see him play a whole game, see what he really has. You know, he's really inexperienced, and the Bears would take advantage of that with blitzes, and a lot of scheming, and so it's going to be interesting. And if Cutler can play, he's always dangerous. If not, his backup is
Jason Campbell.
Jason Campbell, right?
Yeah,
former Raider quarterback. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a tight game, and love to see the 49ers pull it out. But the way their defense is playing lately, you know, and the offensive line has been a little porous. It's going to be a game. I'll say that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Shu. What did they do with Brandon Marshall?
Yeah.
He's a beast.
Well, he's a beast, and Carlos Rogers has struggled the last couple of games. And Carlos actually plays better against those bigger receivers, I think. You know, the small, quick guys give him trouble. So, yeah, but he seems to be his main target and only target, so they're not spreading it around that much.
So, I think.
Yeah.
So.
You know, the last time Shu and I did a show together down on Channel 36 in San Jose, there was a big Bear 49er game in Chicago on Monday night. I asked him for his pick, and he said, I think the Bears in a close one. And the Bears did win the close one, so he was correct. But because I sat so close to him, I got hit by the shrapnel. Our seats in the press box at the 49er game got a lot worse. I didn't have a desk anymore. I had a stool, and I had to write like this.
I'll tell you what, I'll pick the Bears again just so you get more shrapnel.
Well, I think the Niners will win this one. I think they'll come up big, and they got to shore it up on defense, though. You know, you can't let people run the ball. You know, the old adage, you got to be able to run and stop the run. I know it's a cliche. But son of a gun if it isn't true.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Hey, man.
No
always
problem.
Good, huh?
Always
good to see you.
Anytime.
Okay.
Anytime anybody else bails out, call me.
Yeah. No, we've had about enough.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week right here on Hooked on the Niners. Go ahead. You want to see what the rest of the schedule is?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're in a little trouble going down the stretch.